Yes. So, good evening, everyone. All the friends out there who are listening us and our esteemed guests on the panel, Mrs. Santhini Govindan, Mr. Yuyutsu Sharma, and Mandira ji, Mandira Ghosh. I welcome all of you on this show. My heartiest congratulations to Manoj Krishnan, the founder of Asian Literary Society, his vision and great effort to organize this third annual conference virtual online. How time flies, Earlier we had many good to meets and art exhibitions, and in this
breaking up. Yeah,
we are losing you.
Huh? Can you see me?
Yeah, now I can see. Yeah.
But I can't see anybody, no?
Oh, we can see you. We can hear you also.
Okay, fine. Then I will go like this only. So our guests today are great personalities, all experts in their respective fields of literature. And on the panel, we have Mr. Yuyutsu Sharma, Mr. Santhini Govindan, and Mandira Ghosh. A big round of applause for all my esteemed guests. Can you all hear me?
Right,
Yes, yes.
of course.
Yes. Am I
You're
audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So a little glimpse I would like to give on Asian Literary Society. Asian Literary Society is a community dedicated to promoting Asian art, culture, and literature. Apart from sharing information on our heritage, we intend to serve society as a whole through our programs and initiatives. Our vision: promote Asian art, culture, and literature, and serve humanity through our creativity, social initiatives, and program. In this year, we started uh, two groups dedicated to art and culture and ALS performing arts. And we've got great responses on that. We have our regular competitions and in English and Hindi, and many awards are also there, which I will not talk about it. Otherwise, we will time which I want to give to my guests more and more. So today's topic is feminism in modern English literature. Before I go any further, I would like to give a brief intro about my guests on the panel over here. They are so profound in their field that talking about them is like being the ocean in a drop. So if I make any mistakes or move up, please forgive me for that. So I time again want to know whether, because I'm not hearing and seeing you people on the screen, so am I audible?
Very well.
You're audible. We can see you also clearly.
Okay. So Santhini Govindanji is a widely published, award-winning author of children's literature in English with more than 50 books of children and more than 350 articles, stories, features to her credit published in various children magazines, national dailies in India and overseas. Her books have been translated into many Indian languages. She wrote two columns for our famous Chanda Mama we grew up with in 2011 to 2013. A recipient of Junior Fellowship and Senior Fellowship by the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Department of Culture, Government of India, for the research project on children literature. She's the first Indian writer to be invited to attend the annual Highlights Foundation Writers Workshop held at Chautauqua, New York, in United States. I welcome Shantini ji once again to this show. Mr. Yuyutsu Sharma, recipient of fellowship and grants from the Rockefeller Foundation and many other prestigious organizations. Yuyutsu Sharma is a world-renowned Himalayan poet and a translator. He travels world over, conducts creative workshops at various universities in North America and Europe, and loves to go trekking in the Himalayas when back home. Currently, Mr. Sharma is visiting poet at Columbia University. I welcome you, sir, on this show.
Thank you.
Mandira Ghosh is a poet and author of Eminence. She has published and edited more than 15 books. She's a guest editor of the Poets of India, special issue of the Seventh Quarry, the Swansea magazine from Wales. She's awarded with a senior fellowship by Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Welcome on board, Mandira ji. So, in the words of J.D. Anderson, I would like to quote: "Feminism is not about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives that strength." So, Shantini ji, I will start this panel discussion first with you, posing a question to you that you are an expert in the field of children literature. How has feminism affected in the modern day English literature for children? Yes, Shantini ji.
Thank you. Um, so I'm going to talk about my own field, with children's literature, and feminism in children's literature is obviously a little different from feminism in literature for adults. But children's literature basically is created by grown-ups, and so children's literature also reflects the thinking and the ideas that are current in society when the books are published. So in India, from olden times, we've had lots of books published for children, but there was a lot of gender stereotyping, um, where the women were to look after the house, where they had to keep domestic duties, raise children. They were not given much of education. The men were warriors and they were fighters. So now, with the growth of feminism, children's literature also reflects the new thinking. And in my own experience, I'm going to talk a little about the way that I see. I do a lot of academic writing also, writing textbooks for children. And I've worked with most of the major publishers. So I find many people believe that, textbooks are not important, that only recreational books are important. But I believe in India, in a poor country, many children don't have the resources to buy recreational books. So the textbook is the first and the most important meeting of their mind with literature. So I'm very careful about what I put into a textbook. So in some of the recent books that we have put in the textbooks that I have worked, in the junior classes there is a standard one, people who help us. Children have to learn about the doctor and the carpenter. So there was one of a policeman. So I told my editor, let's write policewoman instead of a policeman. So the CBSE class 1 book has a policewoman rather than a policeman. Similarly, there was one chapter on explorers, and you have to. So I asked the editor, let's do a woman. So they said, are there any women explorers? And I didn't know. So we profiled Ida Pfeiffer, who was an Austrian explorer in the 17th century, who she traveled around 20,000 miles without any royal patronage. So I always try to bring in positive images so that girls and boys will understand that you are basically a human being first and then a male or a female. You are only limited by your own imagination. Kiran, could you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
thank you. Thank you so much. That was great insight that you gave, Shantini Govindan. So, a feminist is anyone who recognizes the equality and full humanity of women and men, in the words of Gloria Steinem. My question now I pose to Mr. Yuyutsu Sharma. Sir, you have widely traveled the world over, being a male and male dominated society at large. How would you describe feminism in modern English literature? Yes. Over to Mr. Yuyutsu Sharma.
Thank you much. It's a pleasure meeting all of you, meeting my long lost friend Mandira, and meeting new friends like Lily and Kiran you. It's a pleasure to be here today talking to all of you. Yeah, of course, it's a broader term. When you say feminism in world literature, in modern literature, it covers a whole range of areas. So compared to Western world, like New York City, America, or England, uh, Indian feminism is rather different. But there are in the modern world with the new movements like Me Too movement, it has become a sort of universal thing. And through social media, there is this great leveler now. That what is happening in New York City can also happen in Delhi or in Kathmandu. So feminism is but also, I would say that as it's expressed in modern literature, is more so in the Western world. But in real life, feminism in Asia is limited to upper class uh, or political movements that we coach. Uh, but I think that social media has been a great leveler to bring down these barriers. Uh, but so far, in the villages, in the rural areas of India and South Asia, it has not been, as reached, it hasn't reached in that way. So it has not been reflected in the modern literature of the writers who write in my part of the world. But in also different categories of say uh, like you say uh, like gay literature, homoerotic literature is not produced at that length. New York City is a common thing, or in London, but not much of because of the political system. Not much homoerotic literature is being produced in India, except few exceptions. And also because it's still a taboo to write about gay, lesbian experiences, or to write about and also with the current political system and also the governments, it's rather formidable to speak about homoerotic experiences and to write about this or celebrate authors who are writing. In my New York City, in my New York book, A Blizzard in My Bones, I describe this kind of experience. Meeting a woman, I went on, uh, she took me to her home, and it turned out to be that she wasn't a woman, she was a man who had become a woman. Uh, so these experiences, but in India, it's rather uh, you'll be rather damned for approaching it right at this level. So I would say it varies, but also in upper class Indian writers and readers, this is available. But when you go down to the fundamental level, regional languages, vernacular, like Malayalam or Kannada, or Punjabi, and also the rural areas of Rajasthan, it's a very daring task to even write about these basic issues like meat issues, or write about caste system, write about brutal rapes that are taking place every day. It's just actually India is retrieving, is going back to the old world. Uh, we are still in the first phase, as they say, the first wave of feminism. Where like in Nepal, uh, women don't have the right to have property. Women don't have. If a woman who marries a foreigner, her children will not get citizenship. Even can you imagine? It's like 18th century or 19th century. They are feeling that this is crazy. Women don't have equal rights as men have. If man marries a foreigner, his wife will immediately become Nepalese citizen. But if a woman marries a foreigner, her husband will never become Nepalese, and even her children. And the bill is still in the government, in the parliament, and they're discussing it. And it's never going to probably come into force. So we are in medieval times. We are like in the 18th century. It's not medieval. We are in the first wave of feminism, and not many writers are writing about it, which is shameful. Not many people have written. Same in India. You can't even talk, write a good poem about homoerotic experience. They will think you're profane, and you are even in the mythological characters who write about who were homoerotic. And we are the country where we are pagans. We worship body. We worship palace. We Indians are the South Asians are the original pagans. We worship the body, like no one else. But still, you cannot talk about the body because we still hung up in these webs of medieval times. So it's alarming. It's good I think it's good that this program is being held. And so maybe I run a magazine. I think maybe I should bring out this special issue on feminist. But then there's another side to it. Many women, especially some women, try to exploit it for their own benefit. I know one editor.
Tendencies are always there.
Yeah. So he made this anthology of Indian writing, and then it turned out to be this one of the women came up with a charge that he had something to go on, and then this guy had to drop. So this can also be very negative as well. So women can play to their benefit. Like you can see several examples in Me Too, where women try to exploit, take unnecessary advantage of it. So it's both ways. This is very delicate situation.
Very well said, sir. Thank you so much. Now, in the words of Annie DiFranco, I quote, "My idea of feminism is self-determination." Yes. Have you finished, sir? Are you still continuing? There's a little snack because I can't see you people.
Oh, okay. No, I'm done.
So my idea of feminism is self-determination, and it's very open-ended. Every woman has a right to become herself and do whatever she needs to do. Mandira ji, you are a very experienced writer and an author. Please let our audience know your perspective towards feminism in modern English literature. Over to Mandira ji. Mandira ji, can you hear me?
Kiran, I think she has muted her mic. She has to unmute her mic. Yeah.
Mandira
Good
ji, please
evening,
unmute your
friends.
mic. Did you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear her now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So did you hear the question that I had put on you? Okay.
Yes.
So please go
Yes,
ahead.
I have heard.
Sorry about
Very-
it because
very-
there's a little snag. I
very
can't
good
see you
evening
people.
too.
So I just have to move around according to as you all give me the indications. Yeah. Please continue.
A very good evening to all of you. All of you, I'm honored and privileged to speak on influence of feminism on modern English literature. This is indeed a very significant and an important subject. I thank Manoj Krishnan, founder ALS, for inviting me to speak on this topic. I congratulate all members of ALS, Anita Chand, Kiran Babal and Manoj Kishan for doing such commendable work. You turned me into a bird of stone, a granite dove, writes no other than Kamla Das in her poem The Stone Age. She also, a fierce feminist, writes, I was sent away to protect a family's honor. Important, the family's honor. Sent to save few cowards. Sent to another city to be married to a relative's wife. She is a fierce feminist, Kamla Das. She changed the course of literature of women literature in India. We women now have a voice. Educated women have protested through their verses and fiction against a patriarchal society by writing poems like Stone Age, of Calcutta. She had been a victim of terrible circumstances. History of this world is nothing but the history of the tears shed by women. Married at 9, before she could reach her womanhood, burnt at 11, her life was just for childbearing. Her body only the asset, no education, no right to property as said by Yuyutsu just now. She had remained a victim of all her life of the circumstances which were unbearably, I can say, evil.
Yes.
If there was no Raja Ram Mohan Roy or Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, I wonder what would have been our status till now. So society consists of men and women both. Because of their contribution, we have a voice now, we are educated. Women's anger, subdued for centuries, have burst out now in the words of poets like Meena Alexander, Sujata Bhatt, Margaret Chatterjee, Lakshmi Kannan, Anna Suyata Mathai, Monica Verma, and several others who express their views in commendable verses. I write in Aroma, Muson, and several other books, poems like Murder by Choice or Feticide, infant feticide. She in Aroma against the Taj Mahal because what Mumtaz must have gone through giving birth to so many children. Portrait of women, the servants, the maid servants which we meet every day, their situation, the refugee, the people who are affected by war, that is their condition, I think, worse. And racial discrimination, I must add. Maya Angelou writes against the racial discrimination, Still I Rise, the famous poem. Leaving behind the nights of terror and fear, I rise out of history's shame. Indeed, it is history's shame. I rise. I am the dream of the slave and hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. So the women are rising. It is a commendable thing to see that women are given a new life by the sacrifices made by their grandmothers, aunts, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, friends' mother and all. Kamla Das deviated from the traditional poetry, defied orthodox system and writes Summer in Calcutta, describing urban sophistication of males, contrast between desire and spasm, without any inhibition, she writes, she is a fierce voice. First, her origin idea, of course, she was more patriotic feeling, it was more dominating.
Yes.
The strong wave of feminism in 1960 and 1970s helped to theorize a woman discourse. Linda Gordon wrote, I quote, Feminism is an analysis of women's subordination for the purpose of figuring out to change it deserves a mention. I unquote. Navaratri is going on. Durga Puja, Durga Ma is destroying evil. Manu spoiled a religion who respected women. He said, father should protect her in childhood, husband in youth, and son in her old age. The voices are strong of the fiction writers, Raji Narasimham, Malathi Rao, Anita Desai, Shashi Deshpande, Nayantara Sehgal, Chitra Banerjee, Bharati Mukherjee, Manju Kapoor and others. I have written in my book, Song in the City, published in 2003, very long back, where I wrote that Nandini as a protagonist, she challenges a society where there is Hindur Khela only by the married woman, and only the married woman can take part in the weddings and puja and all things, and unmarried women and the widows are barred from taking this. This is also another aspect of feminism, where the women are also being responsible for the challenge against the stereotype women. The stereotype women are also suffering. Their voice should be heard. Modern motherhood, sexuality, family dynamics, and beyond art, the contents of the all women writers. The voice is a strong, motivating, and creates an alternate image of possibilities. Their anger against the war, the most difficult situations for women as refugees in exile, too, makes voice in their writing. I have recently, I have judged the Gitesh Bibha Memorial Award. I must mention the modern writers like Shweta Mathur, Preeti Warrior, Devrita Chakrabarti. They are writing commendable and creating characters who against heavy odds achieve and sometimes achieve the impossible against a society which is not yet very welcoming to women till now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mandiraji. That was very heart-rending what you brought out. Yes. So coming back to Shantini ji, my question to you would be, why is it so important for feminism to be reflected in modern children literature, since you are dealing with children literature? Yes.
Thank you.
Shantini ji, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, children's literature is not just literature that is watered down or literature for grown up people that is miniature or made smaller so that children
We,
can understand.
sorry for interrupting. We have only 4 minutes more. So
Yeah.
very quick
So,
questions.
yeah. So,
You'll have to answer them.
I think for a child, children's literature is the first contact that a child's mind makes with new ideas and with ideas of the world about gender and about society in general. If you want a world that is tolerant, democratic, secular, and compassionate, you have to necessarily introduce children's literature that mirrors all these values. If you
Yeah, that is
introduce
why, because children literature becomes so important, because we have to
Very
shape the
important.
humanity.
If
Yes.
you introduce literature that glorifies violence or puts down one gender and gives the other gender the idea that they are more important, you are naturally going to get all kinds of crimes in society, and there's going to be a lot of stereotyping. So, children's literature, in my opinion, is the most important tool to mold children's mind. Remember, today's readers are tomorrow's leaders. The things that
Yes.
children read
Very
today
much.
are the things that they are going to mold their mind. Tomorrow's decision makers are learning today. So we have to necessarily introduce them to ideas that will stand them in good stead so that when they have to make decisions, they make decisions that are fair, that are democratic, and compassionate. Now, in children's literature, we've had a lot of one of my favorite books, which won the Vodafone Prize, which was by well-known Indian children's author Ranjit Lal. It was called Faces in the Water, and it dealt in a very compassionate, humorous, and interesting way with the subject of female infanticide, which nobody likes to talk about. But the fact is, there are millions of female fetuses that are killed every year. There is a generation that never got a chance to be born. These are part of our human resources, a part of our humanity that are lost. So, by introducing topics like this in children's literature, we hope that those readers, when they grow up and they have a chance to make a decision that affects an unborn life, will always make the decision that is the right one. So, children's literature, in my opinion, is in fact very much more important than adult literature, because
I
adults
absolutely agree on this.
they have got the power to logically reason, to choose which is right and which is wrong, and decide which is good for them. A child does not
Yes.
have that. So a child, all the ideas that are given to a child, which is why I'm very careful when I write for children, and I make sure that all my writing is gender sensitive. I never encourage glorification of violence, or I project unnecessary ideas which will give children. I want them to be mature, democratic, and compassionate. So, in my opinion, children's literature is so important. And governments and even the United Nations, the UNESCO has recognized that children's literature is one of the most important tools to mold opinion of young people. So when they grow up to be leaders, they will have all the right ideas to choose from. Now I think we are running short of time, so we go ahead to the next person.
Yes, thank you, Santhini ji. I was just going to remind you of that. So, humanism has to be molded at the grassroots level in our children literature. And Mr. Yuyutsu Sharma ji, how would you address this perspective of feminism to the youth of the country studying modern English literature?
Well, I mean, it's not. I don't separate like feminism, feminist writers, and
Yes.
Very brief, sir.
the thing is that you begin with like basic writers like Virginia Woolf, Kabafi, poet, and go on to read more of like basics, second sex, books like that, basic milestones, and then go on to explore more writers worldwide, like Alice Walker, stuff like that. So that's how I would approach it. I would ask. I mean, it's nowadays it's like being gay and being Marxist and being leftist, and it's all becoming one. And so it's the thing is to be aware of, and especially in India, to be aware of the gender crisis. That's and also the roots, without losing the roots and without losing who you are. And when the gender thing becomes exploitation on either side, it becomes an issue. So I think
Yes.
keeping that eye open. Read more.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mandira ji, you have already told about some of your contributions, but in very brief, please tell your contribution regarding feminism in modern day literature.
I will, in fact, there is very less time.
Make
so
it
I
very
will say,
brief, Mandira ji.
because I will just conclude by reading a poem written by me.
Okay. Okay.
Murder by choice. Murder by choice. It is on female feticide. Leaving first paras and all, I will read the last para. Thank you, mother. Shall I love you for your protection in the womb? Thank you, father. Shall I love you for deciding after enormous pressure that I should not be born? The child speaks to her father or mother. Speechless, motionless, blue lips, she is dead. Can't I have a voice? Can't I speak as also I have right to live? From the suffocating chambers of the hell that is womb, I too will breathe the air of the world. Why kill me? Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Mandira ji.
I have
Thank you.
concluded by, and also this particular book, Broken Wall, this is about how the women breaks the boundaries, and this is all about the stories of the women who have broken boundaries, so the name is Broken Wall. So that's all I can
Thank
say
you,
for
ladies.
this. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you,
No.
ladies and gentlemen, for your valuable time and your value-based inputs and discussions on feminism. And I wish you all great heights in whatever you do, and hope you to meet in future with more value-based discussions and live programs. So I would conclude by this a little saying, great is the art of beginning, but greater is the art of ending. Goodbyes are necessary before we can meet again. And meeting
Yeah.
again is also certain, because for those who are friends, and we are friends, inshallah, we shall meet again. Thank you all very much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you
Namaste.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Manoj, thank you, Isha.
Thank you.